The point of this video is not to call anyone out, but I just want you to realize that if you want to succeed, you have to see and you have to accept the world as it actually is and then adapt to it. Okay, let's just check the comments from my last YouTube video. Here's a nice one. Hi Chris, I am a landscape photographer and I sell large prints. I have followed your YouTube channel since you started. You have just given Luminar AI a great advert telling us how good and easy it is to edit photographs. Now is the time to unsubscribe from your channel. What? It sounded like it was going so well up until that last sentence. Followed me since the start, great advert, unsubscribed. And then someone else liked that comment and then left a comment themselves just simply saying unsubscribed, and that comment got 2 likes as well. I also just received a very lengthy email from another photographer giving his thoughts about the video and his thoughts about AI and how AI is a load of nonsense, and if a person is bad at photography, then they're bad at photography and no amount of AI will be able to improve that. Essentially was the gist of his email. Also, that last video did get more dislikes than what my videos tend to get. Now, I don't really have a problem with that, but I am sensing a kind of vibe from a certain group of photographers, I think. So I kind of want to cover that in this video. But now let's just begin with a reality check first of all, because this person who has followed my channel from the very start, which is now going on for 3 years. Now, if you've been following me from the start, you've watched a lot of crap. So for this to be the moment that you unsubscribe, but also mainly my last video. Now, my YouTube channel, just a small channel, I have 2,000 subscribers, okay? That video, my last video where I discuss Luminar AI and artificial intelligence editing, at the time of recording this, that video has 1,100 views, okay? Now, what inspired me to look at this program in the first place, that brought my attention to it and then motivated me to make a video on it, was a video by Thomas Heaton. Thomas Heaton, very popular landscape photographer. He made a video on Luminar AI himself. That video has 120,000 views, okay? 120,000 views. Thomas Heaton has 429,000 subscribers. If you just do a quick search on YouTube for Luminar AI, for example, The Art of Photography have, within the last 24 hours, put out a video. That channel has 678,000 subscribers, so that video will probably do quite well. Some other video, how I edit photos in 1 click using Luminar AI, and judging the thumbnail where they've done it before and after, it's very impressive. That video has 25,000 views. And then we've got other videos by some really big YouTubers, 92,000 views, 49,000 views. The video that Thomas Heaton watched, which motivated him to look at Luminar AI, that was on a channel called Piximperfect. Now that channel has over 2.5 million subscribers, and that video on Luminar AI has almost 292,000 views, okay? So to say that me here on my small channel of 2,000 subscribers with a video that's got 1,000 views, you know, I don't think I'm going to be the key factor in whether or not Luminar AI is going to be successful. I think it'll do okay with or without me. it is getting a lot of coverage. Not just the videos that I've mentioned, but all the big photography websites have covered it. It is getting a lot of attention, with or without me. It's here, that's the reality, and to bury your head in the sand and say anyone who gives it any coverage, I'm gonna just fob off and unsubscribe, like it's not the correct way to kind of like go about things, I don't think, because the reality is it's already popular, it's already getting a lot of coverage by some of the big boys, forget me, so it's here. So I just kind of want to say in this video, one of the key main things I want to discuss is that if you want to have any success as a photographer, or even just a human being, you have to see and accept the world as it is. Not bury your head in the sand and complain about new technology and the way the world is now, and complain about, or you know, just basically wish that the world was the way you want it to be. You have to accept reality and then learn to adapt around that. It also made me, some of these comments I've been getting because of this software, it reminded me of a book I read years ago now. It's a book by Dane Sanders called Fast Track Photographer. It's a very, very popular book. Some of you may have already read it. But one of the key things he talks about in this book is kind of this idea of there being sort of two different types of people, two different types of photographers. And there's one group which he refers to as the grumpies. Now, these are usually kind of more elderly men who have been doing photography for many years. They've maybe made like a decent career from it. And I'm kind of referring to his book here, and this isn't to say like this is all older photographers. It's a generalization, but just to give you an idea. The kind of people who say, oh, mobile phone photography isn't real photography, or if you shoot JPEG, you're not a real photographer. Only real photographers shoot RAW. They kind of feel entitled because they've been around for so long, but they're kind of afraid of technology, afraid of change, versus this other group of photographers, this other group of people who are open-minded, they embrace technology, they adapt, they constantly learning and thinking constantly how they can move with the market and things like that. So to give you a better idea, Dane Sanders in his book, he kind of creates this fictional character who is a grumpy. I'll just read one paragraph to give you an idea of what he's talking about with these grumpies. Oh, and the grumpy, the fictional character he's created is called Franz. Rather than channel his energy into learning new ways to adapt his business model to a changing world, Franz devotes more and more of his time to his online rants. Without realizing it, he has come to believe that driving newbies away from his profession is the most effective way to reclaim some of the lost business he believes is rightfully his. Now, I don't want to call anyone out here. The point of this video is not to call anyone out, but I just want you to realize that if you want to succeed, you have to see and you have to accept the world as it actually is and then adapt to it. Think how you can actually take advantage, not sit and complain. Not complain about how you want things to be, but actually see it as it is. Now, I know as well there'll be a lot of people who just do photography just purely as a hobby. They don't want to necessarily make a career from it. It's just something they enjoy. So if that's the case, then that's fine. You can just kind of live in your little bubble, just do it for fun. It doesn't really matter what technology comes and goes. As long as you're just enjoying it, then that's fine. But the sort of negative comments that I've been getting, they've all made a point of kind of making a point that they sell prints or they have some sort of career. They've all made that point. So if you want to keep that successful career, or if you want to build on it, you have to adapt to the modern world. Too many photographers get stuck in the way things were when they started and they don't want to change. Dane Sanders' book is over 10 years old now, and it is scary how much of it still rings true. In his book, he talks about kind of DSLR cameras disrupting the market, and we still haven't moved on from that. Whether or not it's now, we've all kind of moved on from DSLR cameras to like mirrorless cameras, and now we've had Instagram come along, social media come along, camera phones come along. Like the instruments have changed, but the themes and the issues haven't changed. We're still witnessing these group of photographers who have kind of done it for a long time and don't want to adapt to the modern world, and they're scared of technology and they hate change, and they just complain about anything new that comes along and just says, well, that's not real photography. But I'll give some more quotes just quickly from Dane Sanders' book. He makes a point: starting to look at our world differently will be job one if you are serious about getting on the road to success. For established photographers who are reading this book, please don't shoot the messenger. If any of these stages remind you of yourself or a friend, don't despair. View it as a wake-up call. Wouldn't it be I love this quote. Wouldn't it be ironic if you became even grumpier defending yourself against charges of grumpiness? He makes the point that the most important trait you can develop is adaptability. He says, we live in again, this book was written 10, 12 years ago. We live in changing times, and there are really only two responses: learn to ride the wave or be bowled over by it. If you insist on clinging to old models, old expectations, and old knowledge, you will drown. In the era that's quickly vanishing in our rearview mirror, most of us defined professionalism based largely on time. How much time we spent paying our dues. So basically, if you'd been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, then it was considered that you're professional because you'd done it a long time. Time was the defining element, and time was a reasonable measuring stick, but it isn't anymore. Again, learning curves have flattened because of new camera technology, new software, and new learning opportunities. Now we can go on Skillshare, we can go on YouTube, and we can learn pretty much whatever we want. And if we put in the time and the effort, we can learn these things really, really quickly. We don't have to necessarily spend 3, 4, 5 years at university. We can develop ourselves, develop skills, develop a business much more quickly than you could maybe 10, 20 years ago. It doesn't take as long to go pro as it used to, Dane says in his book. So just because you've been doing photography for 30 years or whatever, that doesn't give you some God-given right to just sort of be successful forever and keep growing and growing and growing. If you don't want to adapt to the world as it is, that business will soon start to disappear as these younger photographers, these photographers who are embracing the modern world, eventually they are going to take over. It's not just AI that causes this sort of debate either. We've seen it with lots of things. We've seen it recently with stock photography. There's a company at the moment called Unsplash, which is kind of disrupting the whole stock photography market. Unsplash is a stock site where photographers can upload their, much like Adobe Stock, much like Shutterstock, that kind of thing. The difference with Unsplash, however, is that you don't get paid. As a contributor, if you upload your photos to Unsplash, if anyone then uses your photo, you don't receive anything, you don't get paid. Anyone can go onto Unsplash and download any of the images in there completely free of charge, and then basically use them in any way that they want. You don't even have to credit the photographer. It's encouraged that you do credit the photographer, but you don't have to. And there's some big companies who are using Unsplash. Now the website Photographer, it's quite a big website around photography. They recently wrote an article. They've kind of like started this kind of crusade, if you want to call it, to try and get people from stop uploading their images to Unsplash. Now, in their recent blog post, they describe Unsplash as a virus of a company. They claim that Unsplash prey on photographers who don't know better. Stock photography used to be a huge business until smartphone cameras came along. A photographer could make an honest living with stock photography. However, stock photography sites have become flooded with images because everyone has a camera with them now. Excellent level of incomes crashed. Then Unsplash came along and killed the game altogether. The biggest problem is in how they ruin their so-called business. Unsplash makes a mockery of photography and they piss all over photographers. So even big websites are guilty of becoming a grumpy. I'm going to keep reading some quotes from this for Blogger article because it's a little bit funny. Unsplash works by getting photographers who are still a little wet behind the ears. I mean, come on. It's a disgusting practice that needs to end. Unsplash, along with War Shots, are ripping photography apart. So if you scroll down the article, they then have a title that says, "What can be done about this travesty?" So okay, let's see what their response is. Might get something productive here, maybe, who knows. What can be done about this travesty? Unfortunately, not a whole lot. Exactly, it's the way the world is, accept it, adapt. They do say, however, you can even upload your pictures to legitimate stock photography websites like Shutterstock and Adobe Stock Photography. But let's not forget, it was only earlier this year that Shutterstock also got heavily criticised because they changed their rates this year, which meant that photographers who contribute to Shutterstock, they basically had their earnings slashed. And there was this whole movement on Twitter and things to get photographers to boycott Shutterstock altogether. It gained a lot of traction, it gained a lot of coverage. Lots and lots of contributors were calling for everyone to boycott Shutterstock. Shutterstock isn't perfect either. Unfortunately, it's just the way that stock photography is now. Now, to reiterate, the whole point of this video, you can either complain about things, complain about new technologies, new software, new developments in the market, things that you don't like, or you can accept reality, accept the market as it is, accept the real world as it is, and adapt to it and think how you can actually take advantage of the current world and go on the attack, not go on the defense and sit on your computer and complain about this isn't right. Choose optimism over pessimism, and if you won't listen to me, then perhaps you'll listen to Gary Vee instead.
We as a culture do not like change, and in that we lose. It is time for you to go on the offense, not the defense.
I genuinely believe the thing that has helped me be successful in my trade is that I deploy unbelievable amounts of humility for all my cockiness around one thing. The market is the judge and the jury, not me. And I think that in the creative field, the thing that has hurt so many people I care about is they want to rest on experience or awards that are arbitrary, by the way, or degrees or something other than the market. You may not like it, but the market always chooses.
Now, I've no doubt this video is going to get a lot of dislikes. Probably going to get a lot of negative comments and things, but just remember, wouldn't it be ironic if you became even grumpier defending yourself against charges of grumpiness? And now again, and I'm not calling anyone out specifically in this video, it's just Dane Sanders made the point 12 years ago, and it's still the case now, where there's still a lot of people who don't want to accept the world as it actually is and learn to embrace it. And if you don't do that, if you don't adapt and change and move as the world moves, then you're gonna get swallowed up pretty quickly. and you're not going to be around a whole lot longer. So please listen to the underlying message of this video. Please embrace what I've said in this video, what Dane Sanders has said in his book, what Gary Vee's saying. That's one of the reasons why I've made a point of giving quotes and things. So like it's not just me with my little YouTube channel making this point. It's actually true. You know, there's bigger boys than me making these points, so please embrace that. But that's it for this video. I really do hope I haven't offended anyone. In any event, if you've made it this far, then I'm probably doing okay. But thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you in the next one. Bye.